Yeah.
Hello, my name is Marisa Vasquez, and I'm from Phoenix House, and I have here with me a couple of my colleagues. So we have Sarah Jackson, we also have Ana Lombardo, and then Diana Reyes as well to join us for this presentation. So we'll go ahead and get started. I'll start off just talking a little bit about Phoenix House in general, and then we will start the lesson on building communication with your family. So I'll go ahead and share my screen. All right. So, if you have any social media pages or you follow other organizations, please follow ours, which is we have an Instagram page, which is Phoenix House TX. Our handle is that one. And then we also have Phoenix House Texas with Facebook as well. Just to kind of share a little bit about Phoenix House in case you weren't able to join us the last time, we are a prevention program and we have different services that we offer. We do some programs in the schools, some of the programs we do in the communities. We're really known for our curriculum that we do both in the school and the communities as well. So we have two curriculums that we do. We have the life skills training program, which can range from 8 to 15 sessions, depending on the grade level. That's a school-based program, so we usually come in once a week, forever how many weeks that curriculum is designated for that grade level. And then we have a Strengthening Families program, which is usually after school during the school year, where we meet once a week for 11 weeks with the families, and we deliver a curriculum that's really talking a little bit about how to build better bonds with your family, how to have good communication skills. And then, of course, we also do standalone presentations, kind of like this, where we deliver some of the presentations um, to, adults, youth as well. So currently we are at Provan doing a standalone series with the students there at Provan. But hopefully, the upcoming school year, we'll be able to do a little bit more family-based programming, with Pflugerville ISD. So I'll go ahead and get started on the lesson today, which is building communication with your family. So all of this information is derived from the Strengthening Families program, and that's the curriculum that we use, like, as I was mentioning, in the either after school settings or community settings. In addition to schools, we sometimes deliver this curriculum at apartment complexes because sometimes we know that's easier to get the families engaged or just get them there as well. So just some benefits of good communication. So it's one of the most important parenting skills that that Strengthening Families really, like I said, focuses on a lot of their lessons. It also builds happy and meaningful relationships. It helps people understand what's going on in their lives and others' lives so they can do something about it. It also puts feelings and issues in perspective. It clarifies and helps solve problems. And then also, when we're able to, label feelings, people feel like they have more control over them as well. So last time we talked and did our lesson, we talked a lot about managing stress and anxiety. Stress, anxiety, and anger. And we know that all of these kind of get combined with each other. So sometimes if you are stressed out, it may turn into anger. And so we have to know that, how to manage it and also how to manage our anger as well. So reacting when you're angry isn't helpful for you or your children. When you feel like you may take your anger out on them, it's important to remember to try to different techniques, or if there's another technique that works best for you, give that a try. So the first one would be leave the room, take an adult timeout. Sometimes we have to remove ourselves from the situation and put ourselves in timeout as well, just to kind of ease the situation. Also, you may count to 10 or 20 or 100, whatever it takes for you just to kind of reset and get yourself in a more calmer state. Also counting your breaths or just deep breathing as well. Do something else, maybe watch, a quick show, eat something, take a little walk outside. Also keep your sense of humor, take a step back and try to take yourself out of the situation. So I think these are some really key things for us to be reminded about, especially when we're talking about communication, because when there is some miscommunication amongst people as well. So with communication, the speaking and the listening part. So we're going to talk a little bit about speaking skills and then also listening skills as well. So with speaking skills, say what you feel and think. Last time when we did talk about managing stress and anger, we did talk some about using I messages. So with an I message, you state your feeling, you describe the problem in a non-blaming way, you also explain the reasons for your feelings as well. For example, I get very worried when I don't hear from you after school because I don't know where you are, and I think something bad might happen to you. So really, when you put that I instead of saying, you make me also talk about the specific problem behaviors and don't generalize, such as you always or you never. Also, don't guess at motives. You're just careless. Don't use name calling either, saying, you're lazy or whatever other, things that may be said to youth. If you say, if what you say sounds like criticism, try also to express your love and affection and your belief that he or she can do better. And then for as far as listening skills, which, either of these skills can be kind of challenging for some folks, just kind of depending on their personality. Some people love to talk all the time, and some people may just rather, sit and listen, but it's always a good idea to try to have an equal balance on both of these. So with listening skills, listening actively, that can just, when you listen actively, that means that you're giving eye contact, you may be nodding your head, just really just showing that person that you are giving them your attention. Also, try to understand what the other person thinks and feels. It's very important for us to try to put ourselves in their shoes in that situation, especially if it's something that's, a really big challenge or something that they're, something hard that they're going through as well. Also, we have to try to put our own feelings aside. As adults or parents, sometimes we feel the need to just give, all our opinions and say what we think right away, but sometimes we just got to chill and just listen and hear what they have to say. Show your understanding through the tone of your voice, posture, and facial expressions. I know sometimes it's hard to do that because we may show certain facial expressions that we don't realize that we're showing, but we really have to try to keep very neutral facial expression, or if it's something great that they're telling us, smile, and maybe if it's something not so great, kind of control how our facial expressions are. And then also, of course, tone of voice. That's very important because the way that you say it, the tone you use can definitely get interpreted differently from person to person. Also, it's important after you're listening to somebody, or if it's your child, or even significant other, or friend, whoever it is, repeat back the most important thoughts, conflicts, desires, and feelings to show that you're understanding and that you are listening to them. And even if you don't, if you disagree, say you understand their point of view, because sometimes people just want to be heard. And then of course there probably will be a time for you to actually give your input, but whenever it's something, like I said, that that it might be really hard for somebody for them to be talking to you, then it might be a good idea just to kind of give it some time before you give your response to them. Right now we're going to show, I'm going to show y'all a short video, but I wanted to just check in with the team to see if they had anything to add or if there were any questions from the participants.
I don't have anything to add, and it doesn't look like there's anything in the chat.
Okay, perfect.
Everything, I agree with everything that's going on.
All right, thank y'all. All right, so like I said, we're gonna watch this video where you're gonna see some of this information that I just covered with you, but actually, come into play. Because sometimes it's, if we're very visual people, this might be something, a little bit more helpful for us to truly understand, the whole speaking and listening skills.
Communicating well with your team is about establishing trust and a foundation for mutual respect. Let's look at some scenarios that show both the wrong and right way to communicate with your team.
Really? You're an hour late. Now the post office is closed.
I just forgot, okay?
You're so irresponsible. What's wrong with you?
I just forgot, okay?
You're grounded.
You're so unfair.
The father was worried and scared that something had happened to his son. That fear and anger was directed toward his teen in an unproductive way. It's okay to be upset in this situation, but dumping those feelings on his son won't help him from being late in the future. For a more productive conversation, frame the exchange with I statements that explain reasoning and fosters a two-way communication.
Hey, son.
Hey.
I was worried about you. We agreed that you'd be home an hour ago since I needed to use the car. When I didn't hear from you, I thought something bad might have happened.
Sorry, I was at Sean's house. We were all hanging out, and I didn't realize that it was so late until I got in the car to come home and saw the time.
Listen, I'm glad you're okay. But why didn't you call when you saw what time it was?
I don't know. I guess that I knew I messed up.
Yeah. It's human to lose track of time, especially when you're having fun. Mistakes happen, but part of growing up is keeping your agreements. I need to know that if we agree on driving privileges and a time that you have to be home, you're going to stick to it. Now, you get that, right? So, since you were late, your weekday curfew is going to be 6 o'clock for the next month.
Really? A whole month?
If you can show that you can come home on time, we can talk about moving it back to 7 o'clock. Agreed?
Agreed.
Look, it's really important that you don't hide your mistakes from me. And hey, I don't expect you to be perfect, but I can't help you if you don't communicate with me. Owning up to your mistakes shows that you're responsible, but hiding them, trying to avoid the consequences, that shows me you're not being responsible. Make sense?
I get it.
Hey, is there anything else you want to talk about?
Actually, yeah.
The father used I statements to draw his son's attention to the fact that there are consequences for his actions, and this opened the door for his son to share his other concerns.
Everyone else gets to stay out later. How come my curfew's only 7?
Okay, some of your friends may stay out later than you do, and others probably come home earlier. 7 o'clock on a weeknight works well because you usually have homework to do, and you have to get up really early for school. If you get in late, then you're up even later doing homework. It's hard for you to get up in the morning, and then you're all cranky.
Dad, really? You make it sound like I'm a baby. All cranky.
I'm sorry, cranky was a poor choice of words. I shouldn't have said that. What I'm trying to say is that we all need enough sleep to stay healthy. The curfew is only there to keep you safe and healthy, not to control your personal life. If there's a specific event that you want to stay out later for, we can discuss that on a case-by-case basis. That's why your weekday curfew is 7 o'clock.
The father communicated to his son that rules are in place for safety and not control. House rules work best when teens understand why the rules are in place. not just that rules exist and they must comply with them. The father did call his son cranky, which wasn't the best choice of words, and his son took offense. The father recovered by acknowledging his mistake and also modeled taking responsibility for his actions.
Okay, any questions or comments on the video? And actually, this video was a part of, there's a whole nother little section of it, but just due to timing, I just a portion of it, but I thought, it was a good way to kind of talk a little bit about what we were talking about with the whole speaking and listening skills, just to kind of put it more in perspective. They did talk a lot about the I statements and not the tone and the way we approach situations, and how sometimes we just have to further explain why we're feeling a certain way to, your children or just anybody else as well. So now we'll talk a little bit about some roadblocks to effective communication. So if we use extra long statements, that can sometimes sound like nagging. So it's important for us to be brief and to the point instead of giving long examples to prove your point as well. This also can be, a good strategy to remember if you're talking to younger kiddos or younger children as well, because when you start saying things into long sentences, sometimes they get lost, and so they may only remember a portion of the sentence. So just kind of remembering, at what age they are and what their brain can actually, understand or comprehend. So like I said, using long statements or instructions as well can be very challenging for younger kids, especially. Also mind reading, assuming, saying, or implying, the other person's thoughts. You care more about soccer than anything else. So, that's just something else that may cause some challenges whenever you are communicating. Put downs, name calling, insulting ideas or efforts of others. I better handle it. You know how upset you get. This may be something common that people may do to others, especially with parents, because they assume that they may assume how well their child may react to a certain situation or their skill level as well. So it's important to, that can kind of be seen as, insulting to them, or they may not like that if they start to feel like you're saying what they know best. Sarcasm, humor that tries to put down the other person, that can definitely be a roadblock to effective communication. Speaking in absolutes, always and never, so that was kind of brought up in the video as well. No one always or never does things, there's usually exceptions to that. Talking for others, she won't like that idea, kind of going back to what I said, just kind of letting people, speak up for themselves. And that can be even just like with, ordering, I just think of that like at a restaurant where some people just, I see it, mostly with parents where they automatically order for their child, which is fine. Everybody's family dynamic is good, but it's also good idea to try to, let, the child order for themselves, just to kind of give them a little sense of independence too. Some other ones might include blaming, to say the problem is another person's fault, sets people against each other as well. Changing the subject, talking about something unrelated to the problem when we are in, this probably happens more frequently when people might be in a disagreement and all of a sudden somebody just changes the subject because they either don't want to deal with it or they're just kind of over it as well. Which, sometimes during these challenging conversations, a break might need to be taken, but that's when you say, hey, let's just take a break right now, and then we will revisit this again. Sounding hopeless makes people think you aren't willing to reach an agreement as well. And cutoffs, if we can't do it my way, forget it. So again, just not being open to, other ideas or opinions either. Defensiveness, when one person feels blamed or misunderstood, may result in hurt feelings or a quick end to the conversation. I think this is something that, especially with arguments or, if there's miscommunication, a lot of us end up getting very defensive because we want to get our point. I've, heard across, our point across, but we also have to remember that, especially if it's like with, younger children or children, we have to know that their brain, is still developing, and the last part of the brain, which is the front of the brain, the prefrontal cortex, is at that last part of the brain to develop, and it's going to be up until around 25, sometimes later, for them to be fully developed in that area, and that's what helps us make, good decisions, know what's right from wrong. And it's not no excuse for any of them to say like, well, my brain isn't developed. However, we just have to keep in mind that their brains are technically, and physically still developing. Also, denying there's a problem so you won't have to discuss it. Even if the issue isn't a problem for you, it might be for something else. So I think that's something really important, for us to understand, is that even though we may not feel it's, anything wrong, that the other person may not be feeling the same way. And that goes with feelings too, even though we may feel like, oh, they're just being too sensitive, they're being dramatic. We don't, I mean, that may be what we feel, but remember, everybody has their own feelings. Everybody's going to react differently. So everyone's different. Um, any thoughts or comments, that anyone wants to throw in the chat, or anything from the staff that they'd like to add to some of these roadblocks to effective communication?
I think all of these definitely bring a family much closer together in knowing how each person develops. All of these also help prevent uh, barriers, from creating barriers between a parent and a child, so that a child can communicate with their parents with ease, and knowing that their parents are there to listen, and not not in a hostile way, or just being able to go to them whenever they feel they need to, because they can trust them, and they know that they are able to listen with a whole heart.
Absolutely.
And there's nothing in the chat, Marisa.
Okay, thank you. So yeah, with the Strengthening Families program, one of the things that they call them are communication boulders. And so these are some of those that we cover, in the curriculum, because these are things that tend to get in the way. And so it's very important for us to try to recognize first if we're doing any of these communication boulders. And if we are, how can we work on, not getting to this point, or what are some of them that we can try to eliminate as well. So like I said, just kind of, thinking and like saying like, oh, have I done this before? I mean, I've definitely been guilty of some of these as well. And, that's just, we're human, we're not going to be perfect, but it's important for us to be self-aware of what, if we are doing some of these, have some of these communication boulders with our family, with our loved ones. So something else to keep in mind when we talk about communication with the Strengthening Families program is the importance of having family meetings. I know that families are busy, they have a lot going on, but these, don't really take much time to do, but it's very important for families to try to at least, get into a routine of having a meeting, maybe just like even once a week, just kind of sit down, figure out what's going on, and here are some things that you can look at, include in the family meetings. So a family meeting's an effective way to handle conflicting schedules and needs and the hectic days we have. They're valuable for families with limited time or money, who have to make some hard choices. Also, it's an alternative to deciding things on the spot. Sometimes when we just decide, or you're just told right away about something, a project's coming up, the child tells you, the day before it's turned in, that can, cause some, a little bit of hostility, or maybe, some miscommunication as well. But, having a family meeting can help prevent that. These can take as little as 15 to 20 minutes. And, it maybe become a part of a family tradition. And it may be something where you can just say like, hey, bring your idea to the family meeting and we'll discuss it then as well. But like I said, just taking a few minutes to kind of talking about, how everybody's doing, what's going on in their week as well. So in the family meetings, everyone in the household attends if possible. Even if somebody is missing, hold the meeting, but it's important. But if there's, hold the meeting if there's an important business to address. So we really want all the family to be in attendance. And, it doesn't just have to be, I know some people have extended families, that they live with. So include everybody in the family, whoever's, there constant. And maybe maybe there's a cousin or uncle or grandfather or grandparent that is always kind of around too. You can definitely include them into the family meetings. But the most important thing is that you're trying to get everybody to attend. Pick a regular time and place. Picking a regular time and place will make it easier to have the meeting every week. So just kind of going back to having it consistent if possible. But we also know that life is, crazy, we never know what's going to happen. So of course, if you have to change it, please do so. Distractions, so that's phones, TV should be turned off and put away. So that's one important thing. And yes, I understand that sometimes that's how we keep, the calendars, which if that's the case, then, maybe if you have to have your phone to bring up the calendar, that's okay. But it's important to try to just have, like I said, those kind of be distractions so that nobody's like playing a game or watching a show or listening to music on their phone by themselves. You can be listening to music maybe in the background as a family, but not just having somebody, doing their own thing on their phone. Have a chairperson to run the meeting. So this could be different. It doesn't just have to be an adult. You can have, one of the children or another family member run the meeting, and make sure decisions and important business are written down to avoid disagreements later as well. So like I said, just trying to just meet together, just to get, everybody's ideas as well. There's some other parts of the family meeting here that you can include. One thing it's important to try to compliment at the beginning. Have everybody go around and say something, it could be about themselves, or it can be, or they can say something, that they did well, or you can go around and just have everyone compliment somebody on something that they did well that week. So mention some of the good things one or all the family members have done. These can be thank yous. These can be mentioning special talents, new skills learned. Also, family business, anything that requires a parent's decision, anything left over from a previous meeting. If you have your children do chores, you can check in on how well the children have done with their chores and discuss problems and develop solutions for uncompleted tasks. Decide how you handle that information. Some families, they may have a regular allowance for kids. Some have allowances depending on how well the children do their chores, or they may use other types of rewards other than an allowance. There's all kinds of other rewards that don't have to be monetary or material. Even, sometimes if they've done their chores, saying, something positive, giving them a hug, high fives, like some of the times when we talk about rewards, is not always just, like I said, something that has to be physically given. It can be some sort of, feeling or, words of encouragement as well. It's also important to have calendars. I like kind of going back to what I said earlier. I understand some families, may work off of electronic calendars, but it's always a good idea to have a physical calendar, either as one or, individual, because each person can have their own calendar to share or have a family calendar posted in the house. Each family discusses what's coming up and anything that they need. planning for transportation, conflicts, all of that as well. Because as we know, sometimes parents are busy, so they have to figure out, who am I taking here? Who am I dropping off? So these kind of help people understand that. And then family treat. So the family meeting should end with good feelings, a game, activity, dessert, etc. Try rotating who picks up dinner for the night. Special treats increase good feelings about family gatherings. So always making sure that the family meeting ends on a good note is always, very helpful and good. I know Anna, she's one of our staff that does the Strengthening Families program. So Anna, did you want to add anything about the family meetings? Because I know y'all talk quite a bit about this with your families in the program.
Sure. Family meetings are really important in that, when I try to talk to our families, telling them that it's a great time to get together, not only to bring up important things that happen throughout the week, but it's also a great chance to get everyone's perspective, their ideas, their maybe even their complaints that they have, about regarding chores or what's going on in school. It's a great idea to plan out things because of course, if there's older children in the home, they have extracurricular activities going on. It's good to plan out those on the calendar and also discuss anything that they might want to discuss just on the table. And so it's great. It's great to have these meetings in order to create bonding and understanding, and just creates a good communication between each other, so it doesn't get lost anywhere else, or it doesn't get forgotten throughout the week. So it's really important to have these meetings to discuss those things.
Awesome, thank you. And any other staff, Sarah or Camila or Diana, do y'all want to add anything?
Not really specifically, other than I think we can all like hope that these kinds of communications happen organically throughout the day, throughout the week. But like Anna and Marisa were pointing out, it's much easier and better to just, sorry, my dog's in the background, to have specific planned times for these things to happen, for this communication to happen, because life is busy, stuff flies out of our heads and stuff like that. So that was the only thing that I had to add. Just ideally this communication would happen throughout the day, but that's just not how life is. So we have to plan these things and make sure there's a set aside time for it.
Yeah, absolutely. All right. Well, thank you so much. All right. So, just to kind of in the, getting towards the end of the presentation on tips to, try to prevent fights and power struggles, this can be, used for younger kids all the way up to, as they get into their adulthood, or anybody. These are just some things to keep in mind to try to, prevent any of these challenges we might encounter. So off-limits items, teens especially need a few things they don't have to share. Let them know what these items are and that everything else at home, must be shared. Some teens or children may get very territorial of their stuff, but just know that there are some things that yes, it's only for them, but there are some stuff that it'd be nice for them to share. Space, allow children some privacy and space for themselves as well, and I understand like everybody's household is differently, just trying to give them some time to feel like they have, their own space, their own, time to themselves as well. And of course, under supervision, because you want to make sure that they are safe as well. Activities, each child needs his or her own special activity, and help them find it and encourage them to have fun at it. Each child may have a different special interest. So just really trying to encourage your child to get involved in something extracurricular. And it doesn't necessarily have to be, having to pay or go do something, get them involved in some sort of team or, anything that's cost money. Just kind of, helping them figure out, are they good at, writing? Are they good at drawing? Are they good at, even, a lot of kids, they love their video games, which may be something that, is something that they're great at, but also, of course you probably have to limit, that as well, but just kind of finding something what they're really good at individually. Also parent time, each child should have some alone time with each parent. What you do together doesn't matter as long as it's one-on-one. That's something that in the Strengthening Families program, they talk a lot about is they actually call it my time, where the parent has to observe or just watch the child engage in some activity of, that's their favorite. And that's all the parent can do it for like a few, like, I guess it's maybe like 10 minutes is just actually observe them do the activity and not really like, you can use encouraging words, let them know like, oh, wow, that's really good. But the whole point is like for the parent not to try to give too much of their opinions and want to, you know, engage, like, actually go and like tell them how to do something, just really just be there as, their cheerleader, their support. But yes, it is important. This can just be even in the car on the way home. If you just pick up a child and have them by yourself for like 10 minutes before you go pick up the other child, that can be even, alone time, but really making the most out of that time. I'm a firm believer in, quality over quantity. So even if it's just a small amount of time, like take full advantage of that time and really make it, special. Problem solving, don't interfere in arguments unless there's immediate danger. Help kids understand that disagreements are normal and teach them how to solve their own disagreements. Explain to them how the other person feels. So as it says, of course, if you see danger, of course you're going to have to interfere, but it's important for kids and children to learn how to problem solve or how to have good conflict resolution skills on their own, because as they get older, they're going to be on their own, or if they're at school, they're kind of on their own. Yes, there's teachers and other staff there, but sometimes they just kind of have to, you know, figure it out on their own. Irritability and anger, kids, especially teens, need to vent just like adults do. Don't shout back if they yell, listen, and then redirect their attention to a new activity they can do alone or, peacefully with someone else. As I mentioned before, sometimes they just want to talk and they just want you to listen. And when we do our communication skills lessons with the kids in the schools, I usually tell them like, hey, yeah, sometimes you just want to vent and it's okay to tell the other person, can I just vent? I don't really want, necessarily, want your feedback quite yet. Just give me some time to vent and then, give it, then I'll let you know when I would like to hear, what your opinion is. And I think it's important for, because like I said, that gives them a voice at that point. Taking sides, don't always take the side of the crying or youngest child. Separate kids and or put them in timeout without taking side. So just trying to be as neutral as possible. Congratulate and praise. Praise them when they resolve an argument without name calling or fighting. Like I said, just trying to turn a negative, more into a positive. Threatening, don't say things like, I won't love you if you do that. Kids should know that parents will love them even if they do bad things sometimes. And also, teens may say they don't love you, but don't take that seriously. Just knowing that, that the kids, like I said, especially teens, they're very, interesting folks to understand at times. But, knowing that, yes, they may say some harmful things, but deep down, hopefully they don't mean that and they do truly love you. And when we're talking to teens, especially in the high school level, and we're talking about, maybe if we're talking about alcohol or any other drugs, I always tell them that as yes, they may be afraid that their parents might be mad if they go to a party and maybe they've taken part in drinking, or maybe not, maybe they're just at a party where they won't, or they're just somewhere they weren't supposed to. I always tell them, instead of getting in a car with somebody who's been drinking or under the influence of some other drugs, it's important to call, try to call your parents, or, their guardian or somebody else, because trust me, yes, the parents may get upset, for a little bit, but trust me, they probably would be more happy that you call them in those situations and you get in a car, put yourself in more danger. So I try to, um, like I said, let the kids know that it's okay to call their parents in these situations, because sometimes they do get afraid that, oh, why they know I'm going to get in trouble. And I'm like, okay, yes, but at least you'll still, have your life. You're not going to put your life at risk in those situations. And then lastly, setting an example. Set a positive example, and your kids will eventually follow your example too. And kids and youth, you have to kind of keep telling them over and over the same things, because all goes to that whole brain development that they just may not get it the first time. So you may have to continue to remind them. And just as adults are, sometimes we keep having to remind ourselves of how we react as well. Any other comments or questions from the staff or in the chat that anybody would like to share?
And also, just for you, when there's conflict, whatever situation arrives and a child's in crisis, and to validate their feelings, that whatever's going on with them, to understand that what they're feeling is valid, and and then that'll make them understand that you care, that you're listening, that you're really listening, and that they can, give them the benefit of the doubt that they can work things out on their own. But if they should need any help or advice, that you're there to help them with that.
Awesome. Yeah, thank you for bringing up that. That's a good term, validating their feelings as well.
Nothing's been added in the chat.
Okay. All right. Well, that takes us to the end of the presentation. Thank y'all so much for taking time again to meet with us during this lunch hour. My contact information is here on the screen. I'll also, on the next screen, we do have a survey that we'd love for you to fill out. So if you can, take a picture of the QR code right now. If not, I will, once I exit out of the PowerPoint presentation, I will throw those surveys in the chat box as well.